All right, good afternoon. Welcome to Ricky Barr, Managing Director, Customer Strategy and Innovation with United Airlines. I am Bill Carlton, Director with NEC Corporation of America, focusing on our global aviation initiatives and projects. It's been my honor to be a customer and I think a partner with Ricky and his team in United Airlines over the past couple of years. Maybe you can give a quick introduction of what keeps you alive day to day in the world of United.
Thanks, Bill. As Bill said, my name is Ricky Barr. I'm Managing Director in Customer Strategy and Innovation at United. Been with the company for about 18 years. In this current role for about 2 years, actually. Prior 16 years was in finance, so completely different side of the business now, but really happy to be here and happy to be presenting with Bill. Thank you.
Great, thanks very much. So we've been working with United for a couple of years, predominantly around biometrics and digital identity type of technologies. Can you talk about United's biometrics journey thus far, and where are you using biometrics to enhance your customer experience?
Sure, Bill. Let me start with the last part of that question first. I think the best way to describe where we are in the journey is my flight here from Chicago, I think. I arrived at the airport in Chicago on Friday. I had checked in online already with our app, checked my bag on the app. So when I arrived at the airport, there was a biometrics bag drop at the curbside. So I dropped the bag immediately from the taxi on the curbside, went through security with another touchless ID security biometrics point, was through security from curb to security was a 6-minute journey for me coming here, which for me is fantastic. And then through the journey through Chicago, I flew to Newark, where in Newark I actually biometrically boarded the aircraft with our biometric exit program. So I think that journey shares the 3 locations where we're using biometrics effectively right now. And the touchless ID product with TSA that we're using is really part of that, is the main part of that journey.
And at any point, did you have to fumble for your boarding pass
Never.
or pull your ID out of your wallet?
Never.
That's amazing.
Never used my boarding pass, never used my phone. It was all a touchless journey the entire way.
So where has United been engaging and working with TSA, and how have they helped enable you with this touchless ID product of theirs?
So TSA is the touchless ID product we're using right now, and that right now we have 12 airports that have touchless ID. All of our hubs except for 2, which is Dulles and Houston, which we will have by the end of this year as well. So it is a game changer for our customers. I can tell you we have touchless ID at our bag drop and at our security checkpoints, and our CSAT scores in bag drop have gone up 17 points with touchless ID, and our CSAT scores in security have gone up 5 points. And our top line NPS scores, which is a very hard number to move, has gone up a point just by having this touchless product at our hub. So it's just been a tremendous journey for us. And it's a game changer for our customers. I can tell you, as I travel, I watch our customers. When we first got it in O'Hare, which was our first hub, I would stand and watch customers come through security. It was the wow factor for customers not having to fumble for their phone, fumble for their boarding pass, and just walk up to a camera, and and then they would look and be like, is that it, right? They were just so amazed that it was that quick and easy. And to the point now where they're used to it, and I get more calls and complaints if it's not working or it's not being used than before it was. But it's just a fantastic experience for our customers.
And how have your volumes grown with the persons going through that touchless process?
How have our volumes grown?
Yeah.
Oh, it's significant, right? I mean, every new airport we get, San Francisco just came online recently, and within a week or 2, they were 30% of our TSA pre-check customers were going through that line. It's growing. It's becoming to a point where we need to expand our touchless checkpoints so we can actually keep up with the growth.
So you mentioned CSAT scores, and,
Yes.
and obviously being in charge of the customer experience, those customer satisfaction scores, kind of how the industry is looking at it is very important to you. How is the employment of biometrics across your enterprise really helping to contribute to those CSAT scores, and is that why you're continuing to invest in it?
It is. I mean, our CSAT scores continue to grow, and I'll say that biometrics, touchless ID, it's one of those few products that everybody is winning. there's very few projects that you have where everybody is gaining, right? We have, our customers are gaining, their frictionless experience, TSA is gaining, they've got more efficient staffing, and our airports are gaining because our queues are lower, our lobby's less congestion. So it's really a win-win for everybody, and that experience, if we could expand that throughout the customer journey, it would be just fantastic throughout. We can get to a point where we can personalize the journey with passengers if we could expand this. One thing I think it's important to know is the U.S. is a little bit unique in our ID requirements, that we're the only country that requires an ID check at bag drop. So that is something different for us, right? And we're also the only country where TSA has to check your ID at security. So our initial work with biometrics has been at those regulated touch points because that was the most pain for our customer. And after we master that, we can get to a point where we can add that throughout the journey rather than just those regulated touch points.
Very good. So no doubt in implementing these biometrics and touchless technologies, interacting with government and private industry stakeholders has to prevent some challenges and obstacles. What have some of those been, and what's been your approach, your team's approach, and United's approach to help and overcome those obstacles?
Well, working with our government officials, the big obstacle is funding. So they don't have the funding to go to all of our airports as quickly as we would like for them to. Also, staffing is a big issue for us, right? So for our TSA officials, they're getting ready to go through a big staffing reduction. So we need to help them work through biometrics to help replace some of their staffing situations. So for us, the TSA CBP partnership is really strong. We work with them daily, weekly. My team is always working with TSA. We're in DC a lot, centrally working with them as well to make sure that we keep the frictionless experience and to make sure that we don't lose anything in their staffing reductions coming up.
That's fantastic, and no doubt the landscape in the U.S. right now with a few government shutdowns is
really
impacting
right
staffing operations.
That's right.
Have you felt that impact, and is the biometrics or the touchless products kind of helping you and your hubs weather that storm a little bit?
So we are feeling the impact. It's more of a reduction for ATC staffing, which is not really being impacted that much by biometrics, but I will say that TSA has just announced that we're going to be adding e-gates to our touchless experience. So they're going to be where now you go through security. When you do your touchless ID and your facial recognition, you still have to see an officer and they will say you match or do not match and you go through. Going forward, we will have an e-gate there. The officer will be gone, and so that frictionless experience will even be better. And TSA is doing that in a way to help with their staffing reductions. So it's really important that we partner with them. Again, that partnership is strong, and we want to make sure we can grow. United's growing significantly, and we continue to grow. So we want to make sure we can do that without losing anything in our current productivity and efficiency.
That's fantastic. So you mentioned your journey here is, I think, a great example of what the United customer can get from using biometrics. Dropping in the bag off at the curb or in the airport terminal itself, getting through the TSA checkpoint, and obviously boarding your flight for international departures out of the U.S. right now, with some of your government stakeholders helping you. Where are you? What's the future of biometrics look like for United?
Well, first we want to expand touchless to all of our airports. That's really important for us. Also, I would say CBP, for entering the U.S., they're expanding programs like EPP, is Enhanced Passenger Processing, which means that customers arriving into the U.S., U.S. citizens will be able to go through biometrics entry without being global entry. I think that's going to be a massive win for us as a company. I think we're getting to a point where we're no longer differentiating as much with global entry and TSA PreCheck, because we're taking the experience to a different level for those that aren't part of those programs. And for me, that's really important. We're also looking to add biometrics to our self-service bag drop. We're getting ready to pilot that in Newark at Terminal A, which is one of our terminals that we have self-service bag drop. So another big part of the journey for us going forward. And just continuing to, I would say, I would be remiss to say that we did not. We started looking at a self-sovereign ID product early on in the journey, where we would have the customers self-sovereign share their biometrics on their device, and we would like to revisit that again. I think as we look through the journey of club entry or BSO or any kind of agent on demand help, where we can use that image for those items as well.
With your favorite biometrics partner
With
of choice,
NEC, of
I'm
course,
sure,
of
right?
course,
Yeah,
of course.
excellent. So that's fantastic. And once you're in the airport, there's other places, the lounge and duty-free and shopping. Do
Sure.
you see biometrics adding some advantages there, and what kind of efficiencies can you gain in those operations?
I think the company that does it best in the U.S. is Walt Disney and going to Disney World. They give you a bracelet, they have all your biometrics. You can go to a Disney park and you don't have to do anything at all. Your restaurants, your hotels. I think that is the future. I think being able to share that information. And the customers, there was a survey that came out that 90% of customers said they will sign up for biometrics if it would save them between 5 and 15 minutes in their journey. And I think if we could get to a point where we can differentiate the journey for a customer. Right now in the US, you have to opt in for biometrics. And so the one difficulty is creating a process where you have to have multiple processes for everybody, those that opt in and those that don't opt in. But if we can get the mass of the population to opt in, we can really differentiate that journey throughout the entire airport.
How are you managing that opt-in, and how do you incentivize or communicate that to your passengers?
Right now, you have to opt in through the app when you go into the app.
Award-winning app, by the way.
Award-winning app. Our app is amazing. Kudos to our team that does that app. So, but you have to opt in the app, and now the opt-in is saved. So you opt in one time, and every time you travel after that, you actually are automatically opted in. So, but it is, biometrics is polarizing still a little bit in the U.S. There are some politicians that really want some more restrictions at airports. So opting in is an important part of that process, and it will continue to be an important part of that process. But we've made it as seamless as possible, I think.
And you've shared some metrics with me in advance. So the customers that have opted in to use this touchless ID, their CSAT scores are going up 18, 19 plus points of those that have.
O'Hare was 19 points, yes.
That's an amazing leap.
Yes.
So how do you communicate that to the customers who aren't yet taking advantage of this?
I think the customer, what I've seen mostly is just watching other people go through the line. If you're in TSA pre-check and you're seeing other people beside you going through the touchless journey and they're not, they want to be in that journey next time. So I think the differentiation has to be seen, and I think that's where we're getting the more people to opt into that journey.
That's awesome. Thanks very much for your time, Ricky.
I appreciate it. Thanks,
and
Bill.
everybody give it up for United Airlines.
Thank you.